Great. All right. So before we get into things, I did want to just let folks know you're more than welcome to use the chat functionality or the Q&A functionality here on the webinar this morning to type in any questions. Feel free to do that as I'm going through the material. We'll certainly do some Q&A at the end of the webinar, but feel free to go ahead and put in any of those questions that you might have as they kind of pop to mind or come up during the course of the information that I'm going to be sharing. So let's get started. Once again, my name is Bobby Farmer. I am part of the Foodwell Alliance team. Specifically, I'm a member of our Resource Center team. So we're going to get into some of the information about some of the resources that we provide as an organization to support both community gardens, but specifically today is a little bit about the farms. So I'm going to be getting into specifically our farm grants, talking about those opportunities, and sharing a little bit about how to apply, who these opportunities are for, and sharing some information about that. So this is my email address up here on the screen. Feel free to take that down. Bobby@foodwellalliance.org, BOBBY@foodwellalliance.org. If we, feel free to use my email to reach out if you have any questions, things that I didn't get to or didn't cover. If you have any specific questions that you want to, send over to me to kind of ask or run by that aren't, maybe aren't covered in the webinar or are specific to your operation or to your organization, don't hesitate to reach out to me with any of those questions. Additionally, if you do have any, if you want to apply for the farm grants, if you get into the application or have any questions or challenges with accessing the application, any of the technology, or just have any other questions, you're more than welcome to ask those. Hold on one second. Okay, sorry about that. We're back on track here. Wanted to get some other devices muted so we can focus in on the webinar here. But let's go ahead and get started. So today we are talking about the 2024 farm grants from Foodwell Alliance. As just a quick overview, these are farm-focused grant opportunities with the intention of helping local production-focused farmers make improvements to their farm operations. We consider this kind of accessible capital, accessible funding for local farmers to be able to make those improvements to their operations so that farms can do what they do best. We do have two categories of grants this year. So we can kind of think of this as kind of a two-in-one or kind of two categories under one opportunity. We do have our $8,000 farm support grant, and we do have a larger farm forward grant of $25,000. I do want to make the distinction up front here. With these two opportunities, these two categories, a farm applicant is more than welcome to apply to be considered under both of those categories, the farm support grant and the farm forward grant. We are going to be awarding a limited number of the larger farm forward grants. So we're just going to be awarding 2 of those. We are going to be targeting close to 30 with 28 of the farm support grants. So, I kind of lay that out there here at the beginning because an applicant can, apply for that larger farm forward grant if they have a kind of bigger project or a bigger need that they're ready to take on with their farm operation. But that farm can also apply under the smaller $8,000 farm support grant category. that way you're kind of not putting, all your eggs in one basket. You're kind of in the running under both of those categories. So kind of want to just put that out there here at the beginning. And these farm grant opportunities are available to farms specifically located in the 5-county metro Atlanta area. That includes farms located in Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett, or Clayton counties. Applications are due through our grant system by January 14th at 11:59 p.m. And I'll go ahead and make sure everybody's tuned into the website, foodwellalliance.org. There's a drop down for our Farm Resource Center where you're going to be able to learn, get to a lot of the information we're covering today is going to be on the website, but there's also going to be other information about some of those other resources that we offer. So for folks who are maybe joining us or getting to know us for the first time, kind of through this webinar, or kind of learning about some of our resources for the first time, just a little bit of quick overview about who we are. Foodwell Alliance is a collaborative network of local leaders working together to build thriving community gardens and urban farms across Metro Atlanta. Specifically, our mission is to provide resources and support to local growers to connect and build healthier communities. So we've existed since 2015. We have essentially been in a place of support. We have worked to provide some of these direct resources to help support Atlanta's local food system, and acknowledging that community gardens, that farms, that the growers of food are really at the center of that local food system. We need to make sure that those folks are, of course, supported first and foremost if we want to continue this conversation and work around a local food system. So really centering growers and the support that we provide at as the foundation of our local food system. So who do we serve? Our direct resources reach approximately 140 community gardens and a little over 45 small farm operations annually across the Metro Atlanta area. Once again, those are operations located in the 5-county Metro Atlanta area of Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett, and Clayton. And we do make some distinctions between the resources that we provide that reach community gardens and the resources that we provide that reach farms. So certainly a lot of overlap in both of those kind of forms of urban agriculture. And some might say, well, it's all growing food, and it's all small scale local agriculture. But yeah, when we think about kind of the focus, maybe the mission, the organization of community gardens versus farms, there are absolutely some distinctions and absolutely some differences in the types of resources and support that community gardens need and that farms need. So we do try to make some distinctions around around some of the resources that are tailored and targeted specifically to community gardens versus farms. So once again, I do encourage folks to head over to our Foodwell Alliance website. If you're not familiar with it, check out our Farm Resource Center page, where you're going to kind of get to learn a little bit of some of the resources that we offer, not just grants, but some things that are available in a little bit more of an on-demand type of setting. So some resources that can meet farms where they are, kind of when they need them. So obviously, many grants are attached to a kind of specific and set annual cycle. But there are needs that pop up at a farm operation, obviously, that are not necessarily tied to a grant application window or something like that. So we have, over the years here at Foodwell Alliance, really tried to tailor a variety of resource offerings that can meet farms a little bit on demand and a little bit of at kind of where folks are. So check out those resources on our website, such as our farm labor support. We do offer mechanical assistance in a variety of forms, including tractor work provided by a local operator, Chris Teal, as well as access to the BCS tractor and attachments through the Atlanta Tool Bank. We also offer compost delivery. And additionally, as we kind of think about some of the top needs of small scale farms, we have tried to set up some things to support farm labor. And then additionally, just offering some ongoing opportunities for convening, for education, for learning. And we kind of make those available throughout the year. And then, of course, our farm grants, our funding. And we're going to talk, of course, more about that now. But I want to take a little bit of time to just kind of introduce what is kind of our farm eligibility criteria. Now, this will be the criteria for farms to be able to access essentially all the resources that Foodwell Alliance offers to farms, but also, specifically for this farm grant opportunity as well. So right now we do have that location criteria. We work with and support farms that are located in the 5-county metro Atlanta area. We do ask that in order to tap into, for example, this grant opportunity, that a farm does need to be a registered farm entity or operation. Now, obviously, there are different ways that a farm could register themselves. So that could be as a for-profit small farm business, but that could also be, a farm that's registered as a nonprofit organization. And then there are also even some other kind of registered entity types when you think about, for example, a farm that's directly operated by a local municipality or something like that. So Foodwell Alliance, we are open to supporting farms that come in a variety of kind of those registration types. But we do ask that farm goes ahead and takes those steps to be a formalized entity. Additionally, to be eligible, we are focused here on farms that are production oriented, and farms that are making their food or farm products available for regular, consistent community consumption. So we don't limit kind of exactly what that means, but just as examples, farms that are regularly selling at local farmers markets, that are operating like a CSA style program, that are offering their food or products directly to local consumers. That could be, for example, through like an on-farm farm stand. And then other channels like some sort of consistent regular donation relationship or other sales channels like local retailers or restaurants. So let's talk a little bit about kind of why we're offering this opportunity. What kind of what is the intention behind this? Foodwell Alliance has offered grants to support local farmers, community gardeners, as well as other types of local food organizations, going back to 2015. Honing in specifically on farmers, when we asked about kind of our lineup of direct resources through a small survey last year, grants were mentioned as the most helpful resource that we offer. And so we've remained committed to offering those opportunities. We can think about a little bit more kind of globally across the state, across the country. We'll probably even be able to connect this to a more global conversation around small scale farming and growing food for feeding people. But land, labor, and capital are, of course, top needs of small scale sustainable farmers everywhere. And we've heard that from farmers right here in the metro Atlanta area. So these grants really serve that need around some flexible, accessible capital that farmers can use to make investments into their operations, to make improvements, to be able to grow food, provide food for community, and essentially let farmers do what they do best of growing food and meeting the needs of people. So just a little bit of context for this grant opportunity for 2024. Foodwell Alliance has provided, as I mentioned, grant funding going back to 2015. Over the years, we've reached 66 unique farm operations with a little over $2.6 million in total funding. And 65% of that farm funding has gone directly to person of color owned farms. That $2.6 million does not include the value of some of those other resources that Foodwell Alliance offers, from the labor support, tractor support, the compost delivery resources. So that $2.6 million is specifically the direct funding that goes directly into the hands of local farmers. So once again, let's hone in a little bit on our 2024 farm grant opportunities. That application, once again, is due through our online grant system by the end of the day on January 14th. We do have these two categories of support: the $8,000 farm support grant, the $25,000 farm forward grant. Now, as I mentioned, we're aiming to award 28 farms with the $8,000 farm support grant. Similar to last year, we are aiming to award 2 farms with the larger farm forward grant. So for both of these opportunities, this is really a chance for farms to describe, to outline their own needs for how this funding support is going to fit in and make improvements to their operations. So we don't, for example, say, the grant must be used for this specific thing. We really like to keep these opportunities as a place for farmers to be able to, describe, to outline their top needs, and make that link between how a farm grant can help address those top needs. So certainly just some examples of things, proposals for or requests for the farm grants can cover things like farm infrastructure projects, making purchases of tools, equipment, inputs, materials, for improving a farm operation, whether that's, an efficiency gain, increasing production, extending seasons, expanding production areas. But also we're open to farmers outlining and using these funds for things around personnel costs, as well as accessing professional services. So I think, a distinction between the farm support grant and the farm forward grant, certainly a request could look very similar between both of those categories. But for that larger farm forward grant, you really want to have kind of a specific project that's kind of centered in your application, kind of centered in your request. It could include all those things I just mentioned, but really kind of, building this a kind of story or narrative in your application, that kind of puts a specific project there as the kind of focus. Okay, so once again, who can apply? As I kind of covered that eligibility criteria, available to registered production-focused farm operations located in 5 counties that do consistently make their food and farm products available for regular community consumption. We are in the application window right now. So I guess what I do like is, we kind of try to align this application window to a time when farmers are hopefully starting to at least wind down or step back from kind of the busy market season, And certainly while production happens year round, especially here in Georgia and Metro Atlanta, hopefully it is a little bit slower time of the year where folks are doing some of that planning, some of that looking back, doing some assessment of how their year went. So we hope that that kind of fits into the timeline of this opportunity. And we do, we are accepting applications till the 15th. So I know we are kind of in and approaching a busy, just end of year time. But hopefully by having a couple weeks into the new year, if folks are not able to get to the application right now, they're hopefully able to be thinking about it, putting some thoughts and plans together, and then having until the 15th to get that application submitted. After that, we do enter into our application review period. We work hard to get those applications kind of decisions turned around. So we're targeting the week of February 19th. And the application review period, that might be a time where we would reach out to an applicant, especially if it's an operation that's either new or that we're not too familiar with here at Foodwell Alliance. We might reach back out to you during the kind of review period to either maybe set up a farm visit, set up an additional meeting, either to just kind of get to know you or ask some clarifying questions from the application. What I do like to point out is this is a great opportunity at Foodwell Alliance where we do get to learn more about some of the different operations that are out there, and especially some of the ones that are either new to us or just new in operation. So we look forward to this time period is also a chance to get to know what's going on and what folks are working on. Let's talk a little bit about what Foodwell Alliance is looking for in the application, and some of the things that an application is essentially evaluated on. First and foremost, use this application to help Foodwell Alliance understand your farm's role in Metro Atlanta's local food system, the mission of your farm organization, and how your farm fits in to serve community. Now, community, of course, is what you define it. It's the community of a farm could be customers. It could be direct farm neighbors that you're engaging. It could be other clients or customers that you're reaching. But yeah, help utilize the application as a place to help Foodwell Alliance get to know your farm operation, and what it is that you're trying to do through your work. Also, this is really important. Use the farm grant applications as a place to clearly describe the current needs and challenges of your farm operation. This could be of course, where you're defining, how specific needs, challenges, obstacles are either holding your farm back from achieving its objectives or mission, or the direction that you want to be going, and what's preventing you from getting there. This is, of course, in the application also where you're going to be able to describe and define how a farm grant can help address those needs or challenges. And then really importantly, what are the changes that you want to see occur in your operation? So, that when we think about, a farm doing this work of growing healthy local food to reach communities, when we think about what is holding a farm back, what are some of those persistent kind of obstacles that a farm is running up against, and then injecting an opportunity with some accessible capital to address one of those needs. So then what is the change? What is this is essentially the impact. What is that change that you want to see occur in your operation? How does that change enable and support your ability to grow food for others, and to operate as a thriving small farm? And additionally, in the application, yeah, let's talk about, let's make sure that you have a realistic and clear plan that you're talking about through your request for how you want to use the funds. So there are certainly times in applications where, a farm grant applicant might say, well, I need some of this and I need some of that, to be able to do some things. But I think the what we're looking for is something that's clear, something that's obviously you've done some homework around. If it's a project that you're taking on, if it's materials that you need or want to acquire, certainly you need to do a little bit of homework around, around the budgeting, around what the plan is for implementing or accomplishing and carrying out that project. So there's some places in the application where you can, describe those components and really get clear for yourself as well as for Foodwell Alliance what it is that you're trying to do and kind of how you're going to get there. And then, so yeah, let's talk a little bit. Like I said, the opportunity for these farm grants are for you, for a farm applicant to describe those top needs, define those needs, and then kind of lay out how the grant is going to help you address those needs. These are just a few examples from the past about how folks have used the grant. Certainly, production infrastructure, materials, supplies, post-harvest cold storage, farm site work, related materials to some of those site improvements, personnel costs. Folks have utilized the grant in the past as well for accessing professional services. That could be things like accounting services, tax services, farm business strategy training. So these are just some of the ways and things that we're certainly open to hearing about how a farmer wants to use that grant. I would say a couple popular things we saw, especially this past year. Season extension infrastructure has continued to be a popular use for grant funds. Caterpillar tunnels were a popular infrastructure piece. We also saw a good bit around wash station and post-harvest build out and equipment. We saw things like irrigation upgrades, as well as ability to reach improvements for a farm to be able to improve their ability to reach customers. So that came in the form of improved farm stand infrastructure for farms that were selling directly to customers and directly to the community from their farm itself. And then also equipment and materials for improved presence at places like farmers markets, or places where farmers are taking their produce out to sell and reach customers. All right, so if you have not yet, when you go over to the Foodwell Alliance website, you're going to be able to check out our Farm Resource Center page, where you're going to be able to learn more about the farm grants. It's going to cover a lot of information that we're talking about today. And then there will be a button to start your application. When you're ready, and I'd encourage everybody to do this if you haven't already, go ahead and click on that button, and that's going to take you to our online grant system. The grant system is where applications are submitted for this opportunity. On your screen right now, you're seeing an example of the login page. If you're new to the online grant system, you're going to create a new account, and it's going to walk you through some steps to set up an account, and then you'll be able to get into the system. If you've used our online grant system in the past, you're going to go ahead and log in. You can always do a password reset if you need to. But once you get in, you're going to see a screen, kind of your home screen, and then you're also going to see that little icon towards the top of your screen to apply. and that's going to take you into kind of the front page of our grant opportunities, where you can get started on the application. Once you're into the application, you're going to notice that it is, it's a pretty straightforward kind of form, online form. And, I just want to kind of remind folks that the system is set up so that you can go into it, you can start an application, save your work, and then return to it at any time to, keep working on it and then submit it. It's not something where you have to go in and complete it all in one sitting. You can save your work, go do some research, or come back to it at another time, and you'll be able to save your work as you move along. The application is pretty straightforward. We have a section where you're essentially going to be completing some just farm organization descriptions, some kind of identifying information. That's going to be that part where you start to really tell us, not just that kind of identifying information, but going to help us understand, understand your operation, understand who you're seeking to serve, some things around the vision or mission of your farm, and then you're going to be able to get into some of the specific sections that are related to the application itself, where you're going to be, describing your request. You're going to be, completing some sections related to, a small budget. And then there is a section for some additional supporting materials where you're able to upload pictures. You're able to upload, other supporting documents if that's something that you either want or need to do. So we do set up this application to be that kind of balance between something that is not overly burdensome, that's not going to take a farm applicant, months to put a proposal together. This is a pretty straightforward application. That's not to say it doesn't require you to sit down and do some homework, do some thinking and some planning. But we are quite intentional around the application so that it's not, like I said, something that's overly burdensome or an obstacle to somebody applying. One thing I did want to mention as well, within the farm organization description section, there is a field where you will need to upload what is essentially your kind of proof of organization. So that is kind of either your articles of incorporation, that could be your determination letter. If you're a nonprofit farm, your IRS determination letter. That could be a front page of a 990 form. That could be for farms that are for-profit organizations. That could be your registration information with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. So there is a place where you will need to just confirm, you're essentially that you are in fact a registered entity that's operating. Okay, I do want to just kind of run over a few, just kind of additional considerations. We do have, some small grant reporting that is associated with this opportunity. So once again, that's something where we do not want to, of course, make it an overly burdensome and time-consuming process. But of course, we at the end of next year, we would want, of course, a grant report submitted related to this opportunity. That's really a chance. Folks that received the grant this past year are actually working on those reports right now. That's a chance for you to look back a little bit. Certainly, document how you use the funds, but also do some of that reflection around, am I making the changes that I wanted to be able to improve my farm operation? So that's just something on the front end we like to put out there so that folks know that there is some reporting requirements related to the grant. I'll just kind of reinforce a little bit. Think about the changes. This is about the changes you wish to see in your farm operation and how a farm grant can assist you to getting towards the making those changes. This is not an opportunity just to apply because there is some money out there. We want and we need farms to be intentional around, what challenges they're facing and how, how some flexible and accessible funding can fit into their operations to make some of those improvements and changes. I did also want to mention that farm grant funding, can be combined with other sources of funds to, for example, accomplish a project. We understand while the grant amounts, both the small and large, are certainly able to cover the cost of some materials or a project. A farm might be proposing something that's larger than just the grant funds alone. So yeah, there is perfectly fine for a farm grant applicant to combine, some of their own working capital or some other grant funding or other, other fundraising campaign in addition to the farm grant funds to accomplish a specific project. There is a place in the application where you can, kind of either mention those plans and talk a little bit about that if that does apply to you. And then, yeah, let me just mention a little bit too about farm types. We do see farms across the Metro Atlanta area here that are, as I mentioned already, kind of organized in different ways. You have some nonprofit farms, you have some small farm for-profit businesses. But then I also just want to kind of mention a few specific farm types. Foodwell Alliance is open to supporting flower farms through this opportunity. We certainly acknowledge that flower farms play a role in our local food system from, both a pollination standpoint, but also in serving and being part of the local food kind of ecosystem around presence at farmers markets and connecting people to farming and food kind of through those methods. I would encourage, if you are a flower farmer and you are interested in applying to this opportunity, make sure you take a little time in the application to specifically, describe your role in our local food system here in Metro Atlanta, and just kind of help us understand how you see yourself fitting in. We are Foodwell Alliance, of course, and our priority is on farms that are feeding people specifically. But that doesn't mean that we would exclude a flower farm operation. And we have reached some flower farms based here in Metro Atlanta in the past with some of our grant funding. I also did want to mention school farms. While this opportunity is not to support school gardens, we are open to supporting school farms. And so what I mean, and I'll kind of just make a little distinction around what a school farm is. There are some great examples across Metro Atlanta. A few that pop to mind are the Muhammad Schools of Atlanta over on the east side of Atlanta, Price Middle School Farm, the Paideia Urban Farm Program. There are some great examples of school farms that maintain a production focus to their operation. So while they're educating students in maybe a K through 12 environment, they are producing a lot of food, and they are operating their school farms in very similar ways that a production farmer who's showing up at a local farmers market is doing. And I think one distinction we like to make: a school farm specifically has a team member, a staff member of the school whose sole focus is the farm. So that doesn't mean a teacher that is, kind of popping out with a class and doing some gardening. That's important. That has its role in education. That has its role in our local food system. But we do like to make the distinction of a school farm as being a school farm operation as having a distinct team member who's running and operating that farm and maintaining that kind of production focus to their farm operation. So if you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to reach out to me or certainly ask a question here today. But those are just a few kind of distinctions that we like to make. And then I did want to mention just briefly about grant readiness. Yeah, I think when we encounter and work with either applicants through a grant opportunity, folks that reach out about some of our other farm resources, there is a certain level of kind of pre-work and readiness that we would kind of need or want to see from a farm organization that's applying to one of these grants. So we are open and will continue to support new operations, early stage farm operations. But we definitely need to see and understand a little bit more from some of those early stage operations around your plan, around the planning of your operation, understanding if you're in a very early stage, what are the goals, what are the steps that you're laying out to get to a certain level of either production or operation. And I think just related to the grant opportunity, there are certainly situations where an applicant or a farm operation might need to do a little bit more homework, do a little bit more on their own, as far as accessing some resources around education, some of those things that are available, sometimes for free, through organizations like our UGA Extension, Southern SARE, or some other organizations that are able to help and meet some of those very new operations with some of those kind of planning resources or different things, to be able to say, hey, like before we get into a grant, before Foodwell Alliance awards a grant, or even before an operation is ready to even accept some capital or even some small scale funding, there might be some additional kind of work and planning that needs to happen before getting into a grant application. All right, y'all. So laid out a lot of information, and so want to certainly open it up to some kind of Q&A. But I did want to just kind of put out a little bit of a farm grant checklist. These are some things that you can do today to go ahead and get ready to apply if you're not already in the system, and if you haven't already kind of thought about how you want to utilize this opportunity, or if you're thinking about applying it. But this is a little bit of a checklist. Certainly head over to our webpage if you haven't. We're going to be posting the webinar. There's just some other kind of language and information laid out on the website around this opportunity. I'd really recommend, if you are even just thinking about maybe applying, go ahead and register your farm in the online grant system today, especially if you don't have an account already set up. And get familiar with the application, get familiar with navigating it, get familiar with kind of what the application is asking, and kind of that will really help you to start kind of formalizing. In addition to just getting comfortable and familiar with the system, that'll also just help formulate kind of your proposal, your ideas, kind of gives you a place to kind of start putting those down. And additionally, reflecting on your farm's kind of top challenges and needs, how the grant can help address those. That's a little bit of the thought exercise that we hope is taking place for some of those applicants. As I mentioned, go ahead and decide if you're going to be applying just for the smaller, and that should say $8,000, the farm support grant of $8,000, or the larger farm forward grant of $25,000, or as I mentioned, both. There are some organizations, for example, last year that only applied for the smaller one, weren't interested in that larger larger investment or larger infusion of capital into their operation, and only applied for the small one. And then there were plenty that applied under both categories, oftentimes knowing that, okay, limited number of the farm forward grants being offered, but I'm going to put in for both of them so that I can kind of be in the running for both. And then, of course, application deadline, January 14th at 11:59 p.m. You'll have a couple weeks to continue working after the new year. So excited about folks having some time as we kind of move on through the end of the calendar year and start the new year. So once again, my name is Bobby Farmer, Bobby at foodwellalliance.org. Feel free to send me a note if you have any questions. We can chat. We can set up a phone call. We can make sure to connect if you have any specific questions about your farm, about these opportunities. If it's not something that is covered here today. So feel free, if we do have any other questions, you can add those. And I did want to kind of get to a few things here. So there is definitely a question around exceptions to the county of operation. And I got a question here from Emily. Thanks so much, Emily, for putting those in. And so, yeah, right now we are, we are kind of bound to the five county Metro Atlanta area. So I understand even farm operations that are in a place like Cherokee, Douglas, Henry counties, just to name a few, where we know of a lot of great and really important farm operations who are working to reach specifically Metro Atlanta with their food, with their services, with their work. But right now we have to, like I said, we're kind of bound right now to those organizations, to those geographic locations of the five counties. So hopefully something that could change in the future. But right now, just bound to those five counties. And I think as far as, some other resources, I definitely always kind of encourage people to keep an eye on UGA Extension, a local extension county office, as far as a place where some resources are shared, making sure that you're connected with your local USDA NRCS agent who's with your county. Even if you're not necessarily interested in applying to any of the, for example, USDA programs, just being connected with some of those people and agents and resources helps with opportunities that do come up around funding, around some capital and financing and investment opportunities. I would just kind of point to some national organizations like the National Young Farmers Coalition that does some annual small farm grant making, and certainly we'll be, as we kind of learn about other folks that are also doing some of this, we put some of those things out as well. So just I will mention that yes, our slides, the slides from today's presentation, we are going to make available on our website, so that you can offer. So that you can, kind of revisit the information we're covering today. So you will be able to access the slides themselves as kind of a PDF format, or run back through the presentation itself. And we did have one person here who mentioned Big Green DAO as an organization that is doing some national grant making, specifically around farming, around local food, around sustainability. So that would definitely be one to check out. And absolutely. I think for organizations that maybe are in that very early stage, reach out to me. I might connect you with some of our other team members to kind of check in a little bit about about kind of where you are with your operation and what you're thinking about. Some of those early stage folks, definitely are open to trying and to work to connect connect folks that want to farm or that are in those early stages of kind of formulating their farm operation going ahead and getting those kind of those conversations and relationship status started is definitely a great idea. Sometimes that means things that we're able to offer, or sometimes that means just connecting with other farmers, other organizations to kind of start those steps. So definitely open to folks reaching out to us about some of those kind of early stage, getting established type of questions as well. And then, yeah, good question here about receiving a blended or collaborative proposal where farms are collaborating together for the larger grant. And yeah, that's a really good question. We do have some space in the application where folks are able to um, mention or describe if they are collaborating with any other partners on their grant application. So that absolutely could be multiple farmers collaborating together. So definitely open to that, and kind of hearing from folks around how they would want to be working with other farms, and how they might utilize the grant funds in some sort of kind of collaborative nature together. So yeah, absolutely open to that, and open to folks that want to reach out if you have any other questions or want to talk about that anymore. Excellent, y'all. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If there are no other questions, once again, really appreciate everybody tuning in. We're excited about these opportunities each year. As I mentioned, it's a chance for us here at FoodWell Alliance to get to know and hear from some new folks that we have not met before. Also, just of course, certainly checking in and hearing from folks that are doing this work, hearing about those needs. So we're really excited kind of each year as we get into this time of the year. As I mentioned, we're so grateful for the work that farmers and growers do. It's the type of work that does not stop. So we certainly hope this opportunity is an example of something to fit in and support the growers themselves directly, of course, which make up just a huge part of our local food system as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we look forward to connecting, hearing from some of you, and we look forward to future opportunities together as well. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.